What is up, everybody? Welcome to the After Chat. We'll get started soon here. If you OM hard enough on the air, it's likely I will find you and I will sample you and I'll make a song. There you go. I know I've said I've been like working on that song for a really long time, and I have. Boy, when I tell you that I just don't have time in the day. Today started out with Chinese school, which the kids went to. Obviously, I think I've mentioned this before. And then Cub Scouts was next. Buying the truck, I swear I've had it a week, and I've already been hauling stuff around like nonstop. Literally, I was hauling the Chinese New Year drum and all of the heads for the lions for Chinese New Year. By the way, Gong Hei Fa Choi for everybody that is in the house, or Chipmung Namoy if you are of that persuasion as well. For everybody, Happy New Year, Happy Lunar New Year, everybody watching. Thanks so much. We are going to join the Discord. We're going to hear some live ham radio chats, and the tech prepper is already there. So let's go ahead and jump into that. Let's boop-a-doop-doop. Where are we at?
Fong is just, it's a smaller 300. It uses a 300 ohm ladder line instead of the other, and it's also pretty much got the same features, but it just packs down much smaller.
Oh, good to
Should
know.
I
I'll
take a
note.
picture of mine and put it in the chat? Would that help?
I don't think so, unless you can put them next to each other.
Josh has a video where he compares them.
Yeah, I'll take some notes here.
I did. So I have a couple of videos actually where I did a signal to noise ratio test using an SDR. So we got really precise measurements on J-poles, and I found that the Edfong did beat the N9 TAX, but at the same time they were so close that I would put them on the same level. It's really up to the individual to decide. I found that the Edfong J-pole packs down much smaller than the N9 TAX.
Okay, yeah, good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking for. Sorry.
I added a feature for everybody that's talking. They now have a little icon that pops up on the live stream so that so everybody knows who's talking that's watching. Yes, I'm so happy by this.
No.
Look at that. Like now you can't. Now you're in there. You're in the live stream. Yeah, Jeff, cool. I see that.
Busted.
Yeah, busted. Yeah. I love
it. And by the way, that video that you did earlier this week, and I start to watch it, and my voice comes out of it from the very beginning. I'm like, what?
That's like every after chat, Don. Your voice comes out right in the beginning.
Well, you got it again tonight, Don.
I just want to see myself on TV now.
You did it. You're in there. So, by the way, Don, the way you introed that video, I was like, oh, I just got to include that because that's perfect. I was like, that's perfect.
Well, thanks for the shout out.
yeah, absolutely. And thanks to Don for spending my money because he got me to buy the frickin' Hermes light. So I have that on the way. So Don, you got me. He DM'd me that it is now available, or was. Is it still available, or is it sold out?
I don't know. I know that there's a few people that have bought them, but I mean, again, there's a lot of people that still don't know quite what they are. And yeah. Heath's been pushing too. So Ape's already got one. Jim and the rest of the guys on Coffee and Ham radios have all bought bigger SDRs. So one's got a Flex, one of them's got a Sun. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think when I was talking to you about heat sinks and whatnot, I think the Sun SDR is the one that has the heat sink with the fan right on top of it, right?
Yeah. It's a small. It's about the size of a Nuck, which is what I kind of like about it. And the feature set on all those big radios is just completely different. And I love them all, and they all serve just a slightly different purpose for me.
Sure. Well. Thanks everybody for joining the after chat. So we are on the Discord, and there's a ton of new people in here. And just FYI, the way this works on the Discord, because we do get bot storms and we get people that come in here and do things to disrupt what we're trying to do, which is help people communicate better and get on ham radio. Because this was an interview live stream, We're going to go straight to taking questions for the tech prepper and just everybody that's emergency communications minded. But generally, the way the after chats work is that we go to people who are here for the first time to take their questions first. We give them priority. So this is a bit of a difference than we normally do. But I really do want to take the best use of the time that we have from Gaston here. So anybody who is in the chat that has a question that they want to get answered from the tech prepper, please come forward now. And you do have to set a PTT button if you've joined us on Discord, just like your repeater. Treat it like a repeater. So we want to make sure everybody can chat without interfering on top of each other because we got a ton of people in here. So make sure you hold down that PTT button. All right, so anybody with a question, go ahead.
This is Ron, KI7FCG. Gaston, good to talk to you quickly here. I was wondering how you're using your 891 in your setup now that you've gone to the 818.
So I haven't used it for over a year. It's actually with the gentleman over at Armorlock. He is designing some new products for that unit, but he is sending me back because I needed to develop my second generation larger TTP man pack. So that little man pack I showed you that's running the 818 or the 6000, I'm building a larger version, and that's actually going to enable me to use it more in the field. But I would say I've only done maybe a half dozen portable operations with that rig. I will tell you, out of all the radios I own, which are all Yaesus, that has the best receiver, and probably something you're going to see more of as I'm finding that I don't necessarily need to have VHF, UHF on a rig. So it may start to eclipse the 857 use when on the channel within the next 2 months.
Okay, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Great question.
Good question. Let's see. Anybody else in there with a question? Come forward. We'd like to hear it, take it, hopefully answer you.
Yeah, I've got a question. This is Joel.
Hey, Joel.
Hey, Joel.
Yeah, so I hopped in on the YouTube right at the end. What's your background, Gaston, military-wise?
Oh, I'm not prior service. I make that pretty clear. I do have a lot of family members that are either active or prior service and friends. And when I discovered amateur radio, they came to me and they're like, "Oh, you do amateur radio? We use, the PRC 117 or the 150 in the military. How do I get into amateur radio?" I'm like, "I don't know how you used it." And some of those early conversations are actually what led to kind of a man pack style operation. It was very much influenced by my circle of servicemen friends.
Okay, yeah, cool. It seemed like you knew the lingo pretty well, so it seemed like you had some prior service. Personally, I'm a sergeant first class in the Utah Army National Guard. I do it full time, and so I just got in and found out that they have a ham radio club and all that stuff. So I'm just working into it and whatever. But yeah, it's good to catch you on YouTube because I've seen your profile and all that stuff. Your YouTube channel has popped up, but I've never clicked it, and you seem pretty interesting. So I'm pretty excited to go down the rabbit hole that is your YouTube channel and figure some stuff out that you got going on. So thanks.
Yeah, no, I actually appreciate that, and thanks for your service. The reason for it is that I'm inspired by a lot of the work that the military has done. In fact, if people look at the field manuals and technical manuals that are used by various services, like this last video with Tennessee, that terminated sloping V to have a unidirectional high gain antenna came straight out of every field manual. I'm pretty sure you've seen it in the manuals you've been issued. So it's just one of those things where if it's good enough for the military, it's probably good enough for civilian use for MCom, is kind of my take on that.
Unless we're talking firearms. I don't want a mil standard firearm.
No, with the Gucci stuff is way better.
Right on.
I never had a problem with mine.
Well, I'm not saying they don't work. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that
Function over, high function.
That's true. Well, again, this goes back to the whole concept earlier of like battle-proven radios in a sense. If it comes to a battle-proven gun, it's probably going to be okay. But, there's variances there. All right. So any other comments or questions? Let's take them and make the best use of that time. Go ahead.
Question for Gaston. With you and Armor.
Oh, well, what's your name? What's your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped ahead of myself as I usually do. My name is Shane, Scout 75. on the YouTubes.
Hey, Shane. Yeah, I'm familiar with you. I love your channel.
Oh, thank you. My question is, with your manpack concept and armor lock, have you guys looked into making a package for the Yaesu FT300? The reason I ask is because it has the crossband repeat and built-in GPS. I think that'd be a fine radio for your concept.
So yes and no. One is price point, and I don't know if that's the one that has the larger, oversized head unit.
No, it's a small one.
It should fit the same size as your 6000.
Okay, so yeah, then probably it'll work in the same bag. I haven't updated the site with details for stuff I haven't seen. The FTM 200 though is a very tight fit, but it did fit in one of the early runs. But I don't know. Personally, like I said, Seth has one of my bags now from Armor Lock. And in fact, he also has a radio that I'm looking at that I think is actually more telling. I almost didn't want to announce it because they'll disappear before I get them. But I'm considering the Anytone 578 and pairing that with two HTs, which are the 878. And the reason for it is that it supports crossband repeat. They have APRS capabilities. Armor Lock has frames for them, and he sent me a picture where it runs in the current bag. And apparently it supports some level of AES 256-bit encryption. I don't know how to validate the claims of
it's DMR.
How much DMR? Yeah, so I really don't know there. But that's the more likely next radio I'm going to be looking at in terms of the manpacks will be the Anytone.
You could probably make an assumption because it's DMR. It could probably support that, I think. I reviewed that radio. I like it, but it's very DMR, if you know what I'm talking about, which after speaking with you, I think that, play around with it and you tell me what you think.
Yeah, so I sold my only DMR radio last year. In fact, I gave it away at the 10,000 sub mark, and it was the Iluance HD1, and I bought that for certain characteristics it had, and I thought that would be my gateway drug. And the DMR lingo eluded me. I'm like, I don't have time to ramp up on this right now. So back on the whiteboard with Laura and Arden and all of those technologies. So I can see that. Going to sit in the analog space. Probably for at least the next 6 months.
All right. More questions. Oh, Ferris, you in there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know it'll do what you're wanting, and it's compatible with Moto Turbo's version of AES. But
yeah. Well, I mean, encryption-wise, sure.
Yeah, and on that note, I actually do plan, I've had for a while, I have an XTS 5000. I've got the VHF version just so that I can transition to use it for amateur radio. But I do plan to do a series on the XTS 5000 with the business license, with the UCM crypto cards, the key loading, and really getting into those kind of like local tactics at some point. That's really where I want to go for my local team, is going down the Motorola crypto side with a legit license so we can actually train with it now. And that'll happen this year.
There you go. All right. More questions for the tech prepper. Let's bring them in there. Anybody?
I've got a question.
I heard someone say question, and it was a couple other people, so we'll come back to you. Don't worry. Hang out. Go ahead, question. Someone said, I have a question. Go for it.
Yeah. My question is, this is Tom, AF7J. Sorry, I'm on my Android phone, so I have to scroll all the way down to get to push talk to come up. Question was Bluetooth rig control and that with the radio. Have you thought about anything like that, or is it pretty much you have the pack and you have to hook up the cable to your device you're going to use for that? And is there room to store other devices besides the radio and that?
Yeah, so for the first release of the MCom tools package, I'm going to limit the integration to those three Yaesu all band all mode rigs with the DigiRig Mobile as the interface, as well as the Xiegu X6100. So that's really 4 radios only. Did you when I showed my demo where so Josh, I don't know if you've seen this or the group. I recently loaded into MCom tools into the mapping capability all of the repeater data. And
Nice.
what you can do now is it'll geodetect where you are, and there's one big fat button that says find repeaters. It finds all of them in a 20-mile radius.
That's cool.
And moves the pin to the closest one. And then there's a gear icon. You click that, and it reprograms the VFO on the fly, and then you key up.
Oh, wow. Does it do the tones too?
Yep. PL tones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I
That's
did
super cool.
Yeah, it was only a video I did for the members on Buy Me a Coffee, and I figured I had all the pieces there, and it works on the 897, the 8570, and the 818. And the gentleman over at Repeater Book, I forget his call sign, said, "Hey, one of my techs told me you did this. We've got a device called like Blue Cat or something. So if you have the Repeater Book app, they sell a Bluetooth device, and they're asking me if I want to partner at some point to integrate their Bluetooth device with MCom tools." And the answer is probably yes. I just don't have the bandwidth right now. And oddly enough, the radios that they chose for their product are pretty much all the radios I listed. And I think the only reason for it is there are very few VHF, UHF rigs that have cat control. And that's a hard requirement.
Yeah, there aren't a lot. So, boy, I don't know if you want to go on a rant on that, but I'm willing to do so. We need more cat control in VHF, UHF radios. There's so many companies that are getting away from just having this dumb radio go out there, and you're in control of the VFO, which there's nothing really wrong with that. But at the same time, the convenience of it, having this device that you've already plugged in and done all this stuff, leveraging that control of it is like, why not have it, right? I don't know your thoughts.
So let me blow your mind. So all of these ideas I built on this platform were like, ooh, I've already got maps. Ooh, I already can do points of interest. Ooh, I can control the radio. I recently brought in all of the WinLink gateways too, and a mode called op mode. And what this mode does is you can say, I want to do 1200 baud packet and get into this WinLink station. So you can click on WinLink and it'll put the mode or the VHF rig in Digi mode. It'll do packet, and then it will talk to Pat WinLink to basically connect on the fly for you. And of course, you can do all that stuff on the HF side, but the possibilities now for what you can do on VHF, UHF are amazing. So yeah, I think that it's time, and that's why I'm planning on, if I'm able to raise enough capital after I do this full time, to go down that path and kind of reimagine the radio scene. And actually, like I said, find my goal is to find an RF engineer, an embedded systems guy, and a industrial design guy for like the enclosures, and build this 20-watt all-band field radio with, like I said, physical knobs and dials, but do smart digital things under the hood, like Bluetooth integration, and then give you power on a tablet or a phone to control it. And I just haven't seen anybody move into that direction. To keep on trying to make the displays larger, have the touchscreen on the unit, and I think that's the wrong approach. You already have a touchscreen in your hand. Why make the radio more complicated and more difficult to use is the direction I'm personally looking within the next couple of years to design a radio.
Oh, there's a radio.
Have you talked to Halibut Electronics?
Is that Smitty, the guy on the co-host on Hammer Workbench?
Yes, sir.
I have not talked to him directly, other than being a guest maybe 2 years ago with them. Is he working on something similar?
He's doing SOAR, which is satellite radio, but he's kind of got that on hold. But he's got everything that you just talked about. He's talked about.
Really? Okay, I'm gonna have to take a note here and reach out to him.
Smitty, is that Smith?
I have a comment.
I got a comment. Go ahead, comment.
It's me again, Tom, AF7J. So I bought a cheap Chinese version of Blue Cat. It doesn't work on Repeater Book, but it works on Pocket RS. I can control my 897 with my phone. The 897 strapped down and behind my seat in the sleeper berth area of the semi-truck, and I control radio. The problem is that it doesn't show the correct SWR readings and stuff like that. So I'm curious if Blue Cat is calibrated right to where all the functions that you normally use on the radio work on the device and everything.
So I'm not a Blue Cat user. I haven't looked at their product yet. I know that it exists and that we have similar design goals. So that's probably I'll look at. One of the issues that I'm seeing, I actually had to look at like the rig control source code, and a lot of this stuff is hacked together, and people kind of reverse engineering how some of the cat control features actually work. So it's a good data point to know that there is an issue with the SWR reading. So it'll be something I'll make sure I address if I do more work with those guys.
Hey, I'm gonna jump in and ask a question because I didn't get to ask this during the live stream, but I would love to ask Tech Prepper this. What are your thoughts on Morse code? Like, what are you thinking about it? Because I feel like this is just like right up your alley.
Yeah, so it was on my list for last year, as was doing the extra upgrade, and it's been pushed to 2023. I think it's going to be more 2024, and it's just when I get into something, I need to give it all my focus, and it just wouldn't.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I'm about 130, but yeah, I see the value. In fact, I think I know you've got the Morse code decoders now in software and all of that stuff, but yeah, to learn it cold and to build a network of operators that you trust that know it, that's got to be gold for.
Well, you're kind of like me in the sense that, like, if you can reduce the kit down, just constantly keep reducing it down to something that's easy to pack around. Like, Morse code is the best. Like, there's nothing better than just a little pack of cards that you plug a battery into, and it's as effective as a single sideband radio for an equal power output.
No, it's more effective, right? Because 5 watts on Morse code is like probably 100 watts, I would imagine.
It's a lot easier to hear the dits and dahs in the noise than in the voice. If you have a big wide open bandwidth and you're trying to hear people talking, Morse code is just 500 hertz. If that, you can throttle it down even further, and it's just the best for that. So I was just curious. I assumed it was probably on your list. I was just curious where you're at.
Yeah, I think everybody should learn it, and it's on the board.
It's on the board, so that's how you know he's serious about it, because it's on the a whiteboard. So I don't know if you guys know this, but to a software engineer, a whiteboard is very, very important.
Yeah, no, lots of good ideas there. I tend to share them at the beginning of the year with people. I'll do like an Instagram post of like, hey, this is the plan, and I'll show it from the previous year.
Cool.
Just to let people know that I'm not bullshitting them. And I try to front load it on the 31st of every year.
Complete side question. Are you also an Agile guy? Are you Agile?
Agile fall.
Okay.
Only because the problem, people screwed up Agile in a lot of the corporations I've worked for, where they kind of took it to mean no requirements.
Right.
And there were a lot of failures. Right now, I like to do a little bit of requirements up front, think about the system, and that's part of the reason why I haven't released MCom tools. I will be open sourcing parts of it, is that I'm still kind of like the field exercises about refinement. I'm finding things that don't work, and I go and tweak them, and then like, okay, that kind of worked, I'll pull stuff out. And I don't want to put software where I kind of have to make sure I don't break anything. So right now, this is the reason why you guys only see kind of this mythical demos I'm doing. It's because I'm still kind of winging stuff and figuring out, what would it look like to visualize all the WinLink repeaters on the map? And it broke the experience for a variety of reasons.
The amount of big programs I've walked into, and I asked them, it's like, oh, what are your stance on Agile? And like, we're hybrid Agile, and I'm like, okay, so that means we're not really Agile at all. So I get it. I know what you're saying. Okay, good. So I'll stop grandstanding. Let's give Tech Prepper his time. Anybody else in there with some questions for the Tech Prepper? Literally, we're talking about emergency communication. So anybody that has a question in the chat, please come forward, and we're happy to help you out.
I have a question. So is the Buy Me a Coffee thing, is that just kind of like an alternative for like was it
Patreon?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I did it because it was frictionless, because it's one-time donations, and I told people, hey, support me here. It's just if you like what I'm doing, and it allowed me to actually buy a lot of gear. I'll tell you, I've done 200 videos. In the first 2 years, I burned through money just buying gear. I mean, I kept it all for myself. But there was a cost, so I'm thankful for that group. The memberships are new to me. I think that's closer to the more traditional Patreon. And like I said, I'm coming up with all kinds of really cool perks that I take a lot of personal notes for myself. Like I figured out how to hack that new Panasonic I got, that FZ-M1, and I'm going to share those notes with anybody who has them, just if they want to start messing around with them. And it's just like little things like that have a lot of value, and they add free stuff. But yes, to your question, it is basically a creator kind of supporting platform like Patreon.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
He has his perks scaled pretty well in the sense that, like, if you want early access to stuff like MCom tools, he has it available through that. So can't undersell that point. Okay, anybody else in there with a question? Love to get you in there. We've got the tech prepper, so take the time while we have them.
Have you seen the QRP Labs QDX HF digital transceiver?
I have one person that's a viewer. Every video I show my 818, he has to ask the same question and rips me for not looking at it. I've seen it. I know next to nothing about it. But I will tell you, these are my first impressions. Looking at the construction of it, just from what I've seen, it's probably not for me because I don't think it would hold up for what I like to do out in the field. But correct me if I'm wrong. I really have no.
Well, you do voice though. You do voice including in your in your comm plan, right?
Correct.
Okay,
yeah.
So I'll show you the size comparison. So here is the. Oh, you have to be watching me on YouTube or Twitch to see this, but are you?
Are we still on YouTube?
Yeah, we're on YouTube. It's just the after chat.
Hold on, stand by 1 second.
Yeah,
so is it the same link?
No, just go to my channel. I'm live right now.
1 second, stand by.
Yeah. So I have a nice little. This is my my tech prepper accoutrement. All the things I've added some other stuff that is like my tiny boy, my tiny boy. This actually will fit in your mouth. I tested it. So there's your there's your tiny APRS transmitter. Woo, buddy! Let me know when you can see.
Yeah, I can see that. So This is what we were talking about before the stream. So this is what we're referring to.
No. We're okay. Oh. So here's the 857, and this is the QDX Mini, or sorry, the QDX Digital. So it's just a digital transceiver, and it has a USB-B on the back. It just does digital. So this will do JS8 Call or WSJTX, whatever mode you want to run on. That's all it's for, and it'll run off 12 volts DC. And it's
so is it running the software for WSJTX on that? Or?
It's not. You connect it to a computer, so it does require a USB connection. It's just a simple transceiver for digital. All it does is digital modes, but it's literally a pack of cards. Like you can see this, it's tiny. So this has a lot of novelty for things like JS8, where you may be getting messages on the side, and you want that asymmetric capability. And you can run it off of 12 volts, and it sips power. It's very, very lightweight.
Are those still available?
They are. It is a kit.
There's a revision 4 now.
Is there? Okay, I gotta buy the new.
Okay, so QDX, I'm gonna go buy like 10 of them now.
Oh.
And there's also the 20 through 10.
Get them before Tech Prepper gets them, because he buys hard.
There's two versions. There's a 80 through 20, and then a 20 through 10, or something like that.
I want the 80 through 20.
Oh,
okay,
okay. All right. We're on a race now. we're gonna buy it.
Okay, click here to shop.
Everybody's computers are smoking.
You're welcome, Hans.
Why am I not seeing this thing?
QDX. It's under kits.
It's okay.
Okay, I'm ahead of him, so I can get the version I want. I want the do I want the high band?
Get them both, Josh. Come on.
Okay, we'll get them both. I already have one. I need the high band though for sure.
So is it the QDX 5-band 5-watt digi transceiver?
Yes.
And it's 8064. Yeah, that's perfect. Ooh, man. Thank you.
Oh, see, this is great. We're helping him spend his money too right now.
What this does is it takes the place of having to put a sound card because it's built onto the board, and the other part is
transceiver, right?
The transceiver's in it, so it's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done JS8 Call and like I'm in Texas, and I ended up working Hawaii with it, and mine doesn't even put out but 1 watt. I'm still trying to up the power on it. They're just amazing.
So what's funny is my MCom tools platform is all digital. It needs a transceiver. This could be the transceiver.
It's just a simple digital transceiver. It does nothing else other than that. It's very
All
simple.
right. So keep me honest here, guys. So I've got the 8320. I have it assembled for $40, and I've got the optional Rev 3 enclosure for 20.
Yeah, you want the enclosure. You do want the
right?
enclosure.
And then the dummy load.
You
is
don't
that
need
needed?
That. You don't need that.
Power cable might be handy if you're not into power cables.
All right. So Josh, I'm not gonna buy 3, my man.
Okay, I'm good. I bought all I needed.
And
We're good.
did you get or did they give you the option of 12 volt or 9 volt version?
I think it's 12. No.
Okay, because I suspect you want the 12 volt version.
Good question. Let me drag that back up here so people can see.
Yeah, it says in the comments there that if you want the 9 volt version, you write a note in the customer notes comments field at checkout.
Otherwise, it defaults to 12.
I'm seeing the opposite. Am I wrong? 5 watt output at 9 volt supply can be built for 4 to 5 watt at 12 to 13 volt supply.
Yeah,
yes, you can wind the toroid that way for the binocular toroid and make the transformers for 9 or 12.
Well, yeah, but
you have
when it's pre-built, how are they going to build it?
Yeah, so if you buy the assembled, it's right here, assembled kit. The kit will be by default assembled for operation on 12 volt supply. If you prefer 9 volt operation, please write a note in the customer notes comment field at checkout. So I think you probably want the 12, right, Gaston? I don't know. Maybe you want the 9. The 12 volt does output less power. That is true. Liberty Cave.
Hey Josh, somebody asked if you could drop the link in the live.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
again, Hans, you're welcome.
Yeah, Hans is getting hooked up right now.
Yeah, I need to get the high band version.
I've got to tell you, do not hook up the polarity reverse on the version 3, because I have done everything but burned mine completely up.
Yeah, I almost did that too, because mine is 9 volts, and I bought a 9 volt power cable, and it came with the plugs to go into a 9 volt, as a 9 volt battery replacement, and they're reversed of what I thought they would be. Anyway, it was I got it. I fortunately checked it before I plugged it in, but yeah, it's be careful.
Got it.
I think revision 4 eliminates that problem, but mine is got a toasty piece on it.
Yeah, so the cool thing about that is that, like, it's just an asynchronous comm system, right? You just kind of let it run in the background while you do the other stuff. And the fact that it actually runs less power means it's probably going to be better on your batteries long term. It's really easy to set up too. I did a live stream where I built it and set it up, and we were operating, but mine's a little touch and go. I did build it in the time of a live stream though.
Nice. So Josh, you know where I'm going with this, right? So
I think so.
I also commissioned my bad guy to do a prototype for the CF20, a sleeve with Molly, and also one for the new FCM1. I can envision a world where I have him create another pouch with Molly, and I strap this to the back of it. Now you've got like one field thing you carry out and just plug in your antenna and do your digital.
Well, yeah, because I think from an MCom standpoint that the JS8 Call integration of having a computer just connected to it, or your tablet or whatever, and it's just running JS8 Call in the background while you're out doing whatever you're doing, like that's the point of this. It is that the asymmetric aspect of MCom is we didn't get into it yet, but I think that is a huge part of it, because if you're like out making camp or you got other things to do, you just want this thing up and running, right? Like if someone wants to relay through you or they want to send you a message that you store in your inbox, like that's exactly what you want. Like that's right there because it's just running. It's like a packet BBS, but HF, and you're just sitting there chilling. Like it's just receiving, which is exactly what you want. I think. Like I think that's a no-brainer on that one. It's a good kit too.
Oh, very cool. Thanks, guys. Hey, Josh, I need like a 2-minute bio break. Can I pop out?
Oh,
real quick?
absolutely. Well, so I think I'll take this opportunity then while he's gone to say hi to the YouTubers that are in the house. So we've got, I think, Scott, you're still first. So Scott, what's up, man? How's it going? Are you there? Oh, he's deafened and muted. Oh, no, Scott. Oh, no.
Dun, 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 dun.
Wow. All right, so let's go down the list, and I think it is Mike KTMRD next. Am I wrong? Is there anybody in between? I think it is Mike.
I don't know.
So how's it going, Mike? Thanks for watching.
Good. Yeah, no problem. Just uploading a couple old POTA logs that I neglected to do.
I got called out on that too.
Usually I do them like within a day or two. These ones were like,
nah, I'm way bad.
10 days or so.
Yeah, I'm really bad. People.
One was from the 10-meter POTA activation. I just did a video on.
That was
I just uploaded that. That was fun.
The one you did with the 818. That was a great video. You got Alaska and then you got South America. That was so cool, man. That was really cool.
That's I'm really enjoying that radio.
Nice.
I was looking for that WinCamp battery because it's a Yaesu, but I couldn't find one that wasn't in China. I'm like,
yeah.
So that's I was looking for that while listening to the stream, and I don't know. I'll get it one of these days. I'm not in a huge hurry.
You know what? Mike, get the WinCamp DC to power pole and just get a 3 amp hour BioWino.
So
I don't care about that power pole thing.
I know. I saw your video, and I disagree. It's actually
we talked about this last week.
Yeah,
and so I have like 4 or 5 of that Yaesu plug for my VX7R, for my FT5, for the 818, and then somehow I acquired another one. So I cut like literally any cable I cut and put, like for charging bricks and everything, I cut the cable and I put power poles on.
Yeah.
So I have inside Big Geek, my battery box, I have a Yaesu charging cable at all times. In my house, in my shack here, I have a Yaesu charging cable at all times connected to my my power supply on my workbench. So, and I freaking love power poles. I just don't see a reason, and Josh was trying to explain this to me the other day. I just don't see a reason for that. Now, the WinCamp battery, the lithium battery, that I can justify. You know, I think it charges in like 3 hours. It's 3,000 milliamps versus the 1900 NiCad battery. Yeah, I mean, that can happen with lithium polymer batteries.
It happened.
I've heard so many people say such good things about it. I mean, Samsung phones used to explode. You know, it's.
You remember that, kids, when the Samsung phone blew up and killed your family? Do you remember that?
So
allegedly, Samsung.
I don't hear now. To be fair, I haven't. To be fair, I haven't really been talking to a lot of people who actually own that battery, other than you. But I know like T.O. has it, and a lot of people in the comments have said good things about that battery. So
I got a bad one. It must have been, because I know a lot of people who have that battery upgrade. By the way, it's a better solution because you just plug it in the back of it and it will charge the whole thing. It will run the radio off of that like battery door and also charge the battery. Mine bulged, and it wasn't even overcharged or anything. It just sat for a couple of months and it completely bulged to the point that it actually became difficult to open the radio. And I was like,
you don't
this
want to
is
use
not-
that battery
this is
anymore.
Not a good idea. Yeah, so that battery's been decommissioned.
But it also has a physical switch that will disconnect.
You want that because that damn so as much as I love the purple button, you want the purple button on your AC radios. That button is a soft button, meaning the 818 and the 817 have had forever a self-drain capability. So you do want that switch. I don't know, Gaston, have you experienced that? The self-drain on the 818 or 817?
I stopped using the internal battery pretty much after the first 2 months and have been doing external power, so can't comment on it.
Yeah.
But I do have a couple 3 amp hour bioenos, Gaston, so I do use those. But to have that lithium polymer battery inside, now they're not as good as lithium iron phosphate, but with a lithium polymer, I think they're still rated 300 to 500 charge cycles. So, and you'll get more. You'll. I don't know a lot about nickel cadmium batteries, which is what's inside of it, but
they got
I
those.
Don't know what their life cycle is. Yeah,
they're nickel metal hydrides.
I think they're Thunderbolt batteries from Harbor Freight.
Harbor Freight, yeah. yes.
But overall, I'm really enjoying that radio, and making
crazy,
those contacts
right?
on 10 meters was just like when I got chilly, because he was like, I forget what his call sign, but I'm like, I don't recognize, like Charlie Uniform is the Azores, like CU3, I think, and I'll get Mike out there every now and
Charlie
again.
Echo, right?
Yeah, he was in Santiago, Chile.
Yeah.
So, and then going north, we get Alaska, and he's like legit 5'9".
Yeah.
Like
was
the
cool,
best QSO I've had with Alaska to date. Because usually we can make the contact. Not really the greatest reception to really hold a QSO for very long, but on 10 meters. So, and the greatest thing is it's inspiring technicians. I've had such great feedback on my Tech Tuesdays, on the antenna build for the 10 meter that I did, and on that POTA. Like it's doing a lot of good for the hobby. So it just feels good,
I as a ham radio creator, the fact that we have the sun actually amplifying ham radio capabilities, it's like my job just gets easier. It's only easier to tell people how cool ham radio is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go back one step, and then we're going to come back to questions for Gaston and the tech prepper here. So Scott's back. He's unmuted himself, and he's on mic. Scott, what have you been up to, man?
Oh, doing great, Josh. By the way, great show tonight, Gaston. I love your channel. Watch a lot of your videos. I really enjoy it. So I did a video about a week and a half ago that kind of blew up blew up YouTube a little bit. Once again, tackling the issue of sad hams that are discouraging new hams from doing things they have every right to be doing. And I was a little harsh about it, but I wanted to make the point.
Mm-hmm.
And I got about 8,300 views on that video since last week. A lot of people reached out to me and really enjoyed what I said. Like I'm so glad somebody finally said it. So I guess it's something we all think about, but nobody's really just verbalized it. And I just wanted to go out there and just say, hey, no, this is not okay. This is not normal behavior to have somebody discourage you or tell you to get off the frequencies. That doesn't always happen. The majority of the ham radio community is very supportive and very helpful. And if you do make a mistake, they'll find a constructive way to correct your issue rather than berate you and make you feel like an idiot.
Right. Yeah. That's well said. So everybody go check out Ham Radio for Non-Techies on that one. So, okay, let's get back to the questions at ham. You see what I did there? I didn't even do it on purpose. Okay, back to Tech Prepper and questions for practical emergency communications. Anybody in there in the Discord? We'd love to hear from you. We're also looking at the YouTube text chat and also on the Discord, so hop in, please.
Yeah, I've got a question for Gaston. This is Jason. I'm just curious. What got you into the emergency communication aspect of ham radio?
Well, I had a incident in California when I was commuting between Temecula and San Diego, where I got stranded and wasn't able to talk to my wife for about a 12-hour window. And I was thinking at that time, there's got to be something outside of the cell network. In reality, I don't think amateur radio would do it because my wife isn't licensed. But that's what got the wheels spinning. Was what do you do if the internet and cell infrastructure is down? And really, what I found outside of that is it's building the community of people you can talk to that are willing to embrace radio as an alternative. That's the hard part, right? You can go through the effort of getting licensed yourself, but who are you going to talk to in your network if that's your goal? So right now I finally have given up and I'm just going to get a GMRS license, and that's how my wife and I are going to potentially solve that original problem I had like 8 years ago. But outside of that, I built a network, and my wife's just on board for whatever protection I'm going to offer the household, I guess. So, bad experience to answer your question.
Add that to another radio to add to the Jeep, right? The advantage of GMRS is the antenna is a lot shorter.
Yeah, so I've got I have frames for it. I'm going to make a man pack for it, and I went with the Ocean KG1000G for a number of reasons. And I'm going to build a man pack for my wife and one for myself, and we're going to have them both in our vehicles.
What are you going to do at the house?
Use the man pack. That's the nice thing about this man pack is that it transitions from the ham shack. All I need is an antenna system there.
Right.
To the
That's
vehicle.
what I was wondering about you're going to use the vehicle antenna at the house?
No. I'm only going to have one radio at the house, and it'll be the same one that I bring into my vehicle.
I was wondering about the antenna because Jason Ham Radio 2.0 sells the Ed Fong J-pole for GMRS. It's a really nice one.
Be it. Yeah. I was looking at the one from N9TAX, but there was a mention of Ed Fong earlier, so I'll probably give that a whirl when breaking into GMRS later this year.
As somebody, again, I'll just reiterate my point. As somebody who I've tested the Radios Waves one, N9TAX, Ed Fong, and I think there's another one. Actually, I have another J-pole that Carlos sent me, Life at Terminal Velocity, that I need to get out in the park and test. The Ed Fong is the most packable out of all of them. It is so much smaller. The twin lead that they use is lighter. It's a better antenna.
Yeah,
from a packable point of view.
Yeah, understand that the one that Jason sells is not the roll-up. It's the permanent mount that goes in the PVC.
He's had both.
I've never seen a roll-up.
He definitely has sold both. But there are so if you go back to my channel on that video of testing J-poles, I did post the link to another company that sells the roll-up J-pole.
Yeah, but at the house, what I tend to do is put a antenna like that up high, like a 20-foot mast.
Yeah. Sure. All right, so I'll dive in with another question for the tech prepper. So Yaesu has definitely, I think, garnered your favor. Why do you think that is? Can you articulate that?
Simple answer is I love the design that came out of the Vertex era, and that design is no longer. So I don't know if I'm going to be on board for anything new that Yaesu has come out with.
Well, you got the 6000. The 6000 is of that look for sure.
No, and I hate the 6000.
Do you really?
I don't like the menu system on it whatsoever. It confuses the heck out of me.
But it's that look, right? It has the look.
It has the look. It was the only active production radio that was man-packable and kind of met that public service need. In fact, that's what I take with me usually to public service events is the 6000 in that man pack. But I'm not a fan of the whole waterfall, everything being touch screen. I like knobs and dials,
I
especially
gotta,
my Jeep.
I gotta tell you, I think the world is moving on from what you're looking for.
Well, have you looked
Yeah.
at the single band Alinkos?
Oh yes, have you got
I
into
have
Alinkos yet?
not.
Wait, you don't know about the Alinkos?
Oh
Oh,
man, those are great, and they're
so
digital.
so they have a DB9 connector in the back, so you can do whatever you want out of the back of it. The Alinco DR135 is
Yeah.
just a fantastic 2
Mhm.
meter only. They're all mono band. So you just buy that band and they kick ass. That's what I use on
Yeah.
my packet radio system with a proper TNC on it. We didn't get into that either, but I would be curious on your thoughts on like a real physical TNC. Have you ever used like a proper TNC?
Like the Camtronics.
Exactly. Yes.
No, I haven't, but I do own 2 Kenwood D710s, and I bought it for that reason, was to have a user-accessible TNC, and I dabbled with it just a little bit. In fact, that's my preferred mobile rig for the vehicle. So the RV has one and the Jeep has one. And again, it goes back to that era of knobs and dials
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
crossband repeat and all that stuff. I absolutely love the Kenwood for that reason.
So check out the Alinco DR135 and then get the Cantronics KPC3 USB, and like that is way better than a Raspberry Pi. And you can interface it via USB, and then you can do all your modem calls over just a terminal window on Linux. It worked great. It works great.
Yeah, and there is a 135 and there is a 435. There used to be a 235. Jason has one, but yeah, they used to have one big, and they're cheap too. They're
It's like,
not
yeah,
expensive.
$135, $160.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, the closest I have to that is the monobander, the 2980R. What I don't like about it is that it runs too hot. So for me, it wasn't man-packable. And when interfacing it with digital, I helped Dennis from DigiRig design I didn't help design. I told him I wanted a digital interface, and I don't like that you have to cannibalize with a Y cable, the mic jack on the back, and then the RJ11 connector on the front. So you can't do voice and digital. Like, it doesn't have a data port. So it's very much a hack solution. But that is my dedicated packet station, is the 2980, just for doing digital work.
Yeah, look at the Alinco.
Okay. Yeah, it's on the list. You guys are spending all of the money I made, like, in ads.
That's what we do here.
Sounds good. No, I like it.
Jody has Jody, that is a really good idea. Jody was like, here's an interesting concept. Take my my crap top, and I use you have a step up converter for USB where you can go from the 5-volt USB to like 12 volt, and then you can run the QDX. You could run that digital transceiver off of that USB plug from the laptop. That's stupid. That's stupid, and I really like that idea.
Well, I have 3 of them coming my way, so I'm going to come up with some good stuff on that. We'll see what happens.
That's awesome.
Because that'll be an interesting field experiment.
What I just thought of, and this is probably stupid, but anyway, what if you took a QDX and you hung a transverter off the back of it for 2 meter 440? It'll do.
That is dumb. That is all kinds of
How much
dumb.
power, though? You're going to be like at like 100 milliwatts, or
Don said transverter. Everyone take a drink.
You get about 3 to 5 watts out of them,
Okay.
sometimes up to 10. From in the case of the and get ready to drink, Evan. In case of the Flex Radio, you're putting out about 10. You're putting out
Finish your
about
beer.
10 dB out into that transverter, and it gets about 5 watts out.
Got it.
All right, let's go back to the chat here. So questions for the tech prepper, and we ideally, like, let's turn this into a bit of an MCom, like hypothetical situation type of stuff. What should you be preparing for? How should you gear yourself out, and how should you plan? Like, we don't talk enough about the planning, right? Because it's not just you, right? You got to communicate with other people. So let's do it that way. So if there's anybody in there in the chat, Comments, questions, let's go. Anybody?
Quick comment about the QRP Labs QDX. We can spend our money as well because I just realized as soon as I did that there was probably going to be a bunch of people buying them. So I definitely have to order a few before they send out.
So Stephen Ray, you have really distorted audio. It was really hard to hear that, but I think I got that you bought the QDX and or you're trying to maybe. By the way, I think that there's probably plenty on that website. I don't think that we're taxing their supply. He's been making them for well over a year now, so yeah, you want to try again? Go for it.
Or if you feel like you're having trouble with it, just type it in the chat. We'll pick it up.
Yeah. By the way, everybody on YouTube or anywhere else, if you have a question, go ahead, dive in there, and we're happy to take it. Yeah. So I guess I'll ask to the tech prepper. So let's say this is the hypothetical comment or question that we get. I get a lot of these on Instagram, by the way. Instagram is where I get like the most questions like this. So when somebody comes back and says like, yeah, I bought like a fleet of Baofangs and I think I got my neighborhood sorted away, and I want to be able to like contact my mom, and she's 400 miles away from me, or my uncle or whatever. Like, what do you tell them? Like, what do you say? Like, what do you put in a text?
Honestly, I tell them that radio may be the wrong thing for them.
Okay, I'm glad that. I'm glad. Okay, keep going.
And it's only because I tell them, look, radio does not work the way you've been trained with your smartphone. It just doesn't work that way, and it's going to require training and expertise and gear that's expensive. And you're better off trying to figure out some type of satellite-based service. So that's where I'm at. There is no answer to that problem. The answer is it's not going to work for you, unfortunately.
Yeah, that always scare is the wrong word, but like when you start thinking about this and you go down the rabbit hole, it's like you're going to the depths of like human capability. And I always wonder about services like that, services like sat phone or whatever. Like at the end of the day, still point-to-point communication is, to me, always the best. But with that comes all this complexity of making it all work, right? I guess, I don't know. I always don't know how to answer. So I give them the same answer into a similar sense, unless the people are willing to do the work, right? If you're willing to do the work, then there's plenty of things you can do, but a lot of it now you're getting into, not only do you have to get your technician license, but you're also potentially having to get your general license, right?
Absolutely. There is just no solution for that. There are no free lunches in radio, is my philosophy. And even if you know what you're doing and have the gear and have somebody else who's willing to do the same thing, you still are subject to ban conditions. So I just don't see anybody's grandma, being on the other end, unless they're, a licensed operator that is willing to talk to their grandkids in the other state.
So we do have a lot of questions on YouTube, actually, now that I pulled it up, and the Discord chat is apparently not the best at that, so that's my fault. Sorry. So what are your thoughts on GMRS messaging handhelds, such as the B-Tech GMRS Pro? Have you played around with those at all?
No. So again, GMRS is on the whiteboard. I table all of the things I want to look at and put blinders onto them. I'm very narrowly focused today in analog radio, VHF, UHF, HF, and that's kind of where my wheelhouse is. I'm trying not to be a generalist right now and just looking at solving the problems that our group is looking at solving. So I'll have to kick that one back to somebody else in the group if they want to pick that one up.
So the problem with, and I don't know enough about this radio in particular, but I know that Not a Rubicon looked at it. So the problem I have with and by the way, this extends into ham radio, APRS is already a fantastic solution that anyone can use. It already exists. It's very helpful. It's very usable and has lots of services attached to it already, like texting your family or emailing via WinLink and myriad other things. Coming up with a new standard is always like that that XKCD comic of there are 14 competing standards. Oh, let's take all the standards and unify them. There are now 15 competing standards. From a software developer standpoint, we already see this coming when people are like, we're going to improve on all of this. All that means is it's a new thing to learn. It's a new thing that you have to compete with and integrate and do all that other stuff with. So it already exists. It's APRS as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing is beating that.
Yeah. We don't do DPRS around here. Sorry.
Yeah, and I love ICOM. I think the ICOM menu system is the best on the radios, but at the same time, I don't do DPRS because we already had that solution. It already covers so many radios, so we just need to embrace that and tell the radio manufacturers that just use that. But this is one for Gaston. So you mentioned heat problems. Have you ever attempted heat mitigation modifications such as a phase change material PCM heatsink?
I haven't, and I'll tell you why. And it just goes back to my operating style. I don't rag chew. And I wasn't prior service, but I like to hit short, targeted comma windows. Even when I do SOTA, I don't operate for more than 10 minutes. So even in the summer when it's extremely hot, I've really never had a problem. Especially if I bring a QRO rig or like a 100-watt rig, I won't run more than like 10 or 20 watts. So it's something I just don't deal with because it's not part of my communication style. I don't ever heat up the radio, period, by just general usage or how I use the radio.
Sure. All right, we got another one in here too. So going back to this. Yeah, this is kind of an open question. But what a Bree tactical antenna equals an Ed Fong J-pole? So for size constraints alone, the 40-something inch Abri is probably the closest, but a roll-up J-pole is like totally a different ballpark than an antenna that you would put on your radio. Plus, I wouldn't go traipsing around hiking. I actually have the same agreement with Gaston, the tech prepper here, that you should just run the rubber duck most of the time when you're traipsing around in the field, and then put on the better antenna when you get to where you're going, or if you need to make a longer shot. I don't know. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so I did a video on this when I was trying to figure out what antenna would be most appropriate for the VX6. I tested the rubber duck. I tested a what they call the RTO wearable antenna from Cattail Antenna. It's actually designed for the military, and it worked okay. I had some issues, but I also tried the 48-inch Aubrey, and it actually did not perform much better than the rubber duck, especially in the collapse configuration. Now, when I deployed it, it was a bit ridiculous coming off my shoulder. Mm-hmm. And it performed a little bit better. I think I was using the ARTS system and the beaconing to actually test when I went in and out of range, doing the same trail route. And I think I got maybe about a quarter mile further on 300 milliwatts. The problem I had was I wasn't able to easily collapse that stuff on the go. Like, it was just more of it got in the way. An antenna that size just didn't give me enough value and performance for as much as a headache in terms of comfort, wearability, packability. I'd rather, like I said, get to a location and throw up a J-pole, make my contact, and then put back on the rubber duck and get moving again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. All right. Let's go down the list here. The G90, the Shegu G90, has an Armalog available, or Armalock. Will it fit in your man pack?
I don't know. I haven't tested it. Probably should. Problem is Armalock doesn't have the G90 anymore. So we really just don't know. I like that radio, though. I will take a tangent. So there are some features I like from that radio. I've never used one, but the ability to run 20 watts and have the ATU in there, and the footprint is actually very appealing. I think there were some issues with the digital integration. Don't they have like a wonky kind of like aftermarket kind of kludge to get sound out of that? It's not.
It has the front panel that you have to plug into, and then the back, the DIN connector.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
That new interface that Zygu has, the DE19, makes it really easy.
Is it all DIN?
I don't know what a DIN is, but it's. I mean, you hook it up the same as like the DigiRig.
DIN's got a lot of pins.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, the G90 has that pin connector thing on the back, so yeah,
Like
you're still plugging in. I think there's a plug on the side of the head part, and then you plug one into the back, and you're on the air. But I'd still go DigiRig because it's smaller and not Chinese.
Yeah, and the DigiRig has a right angle connector for the part that goes on the side, so it doesn't take up much room.
Yeah, that's what I've got in my G90 Go box.
Okay, right on.
Very
but
good.
yeah,
And
it's not hard to get on digital.
cool. And I guess whoever made that comment, I'll call Armorlock and ask them on dimensions, and if because they have the bag, and I don't know what the best way to get feedback to whoever asked the question, but I'll look into it.
Yeah.
The only thing about the G90 is, though, the heat is much greater than I think some of those other radios, because like they've got that fan that
that's true.
Yeah, that to me really needs to be on the bottom of that thing to cool it.
I think you're right.
Dude, I've run that thing so hot.
Mike, I have melted my power cable. That's how hot it gets with 10 watts.
I know how hot it gets. I ran it so freaking hot, it almost burned me. Like, it was hot.
But he's not going to want to put it in his pack and run it that hot, right?
Probably not.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I
But
do
if
have
you got that
flap.
metal rail around it. That would kind of be a standoff for it.
Yeah, the rail looks like it gives a little bit of a standoff, and it really only heats up, I think, if you're running digital modes. So it shouldn't heat up much on.
I was just doing a sideband POTA activation, and it got hot. So your mileage may vary.
Everyone in the country tries to get you when you're doing POTA activations, though.
So all that RF coming in heated up my radio, you're saying?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It was a heart that heated up your radio.
Yeah,
there you go.
I was doing FT8 when I melted that cable. It literally melted in two.
So, simple question: what is MCom? And they use Mary, Charlie, Oscar, Mary. So we're saying MCom in the sense of E, Echo, Mary, Charlie, Oscar, Mary. Emergency communications. So communications that you would deploy in an emergency situation is the question there.
MCom, LARP. Oh, I'm sorry.
So there's a question from Steven that says, planning accordingly for a hurricane situation. What would you do in a hurricane situation? Tear everything down and make sure that all your antennas are not up? And then put them back up after the hurricane goes away, I'm guessing?
I would go somewhere else.
Make sure your Go box floats.
Isn't MCom as in maritime communications?
Could be.
Get out of here now.
Could be. So Levi, moving along a little bit, Levi asks, are you, so this is for the tech prepper, are you working on any super simple directional antennas, such as an L-shaped, end-fed half-wave and such?
Yes. So I did a video with the Chameleon tactical dipole, and the configuration was an a terminated sloping V. I plan to try that with Tim's antenna. He sent me that very simple linked dipole, which weighs almost nothing. Mm-hmm. And I've been told, again, I'm not terribly up to speed on all of the HF or antenna theory, but I plan to deploy at, I don't know, probably 25-foot distance and bring the legs out like the V and actually see how it performs. And then I have the 300 ohm terminating resistors that I source from somewhere, and I kind of want to see if I can do the same thing as I did with Chameleon, but just in a much simpler package with a simple dipole and a couple of terminating resistors. So that's planned for another no random contacts to see if we can do it on the cheap.
Interesting. So what, I mean, does that look like just an end-fed half-wave kind of thing?
No, it's going to be a dipole, but I thought he mentioned he wanted it to be directional.
Mm-hmm.
And my solution is to take my dipole, put it out in a V configuration at the bearing I want, and then terminate it with the terminating resistors on the ends.
Got it.
So
very much similar to the Chameleon kind of setup.
I just want to see how it behaves, whether it needs a tuner or what happens, because then I can use the gear that I'm already creating that fits in my pack. Because the Chameleon bag is heavy. I mean, it's a whole freaking duffel bag.
Yeah.
It's a Swiss Army knife. It's designed to do a host of other things, but I'm kind of curious to see if I can get some directionality with just a simple dipole.
Right.
Is really.
Have you ever thought of phased verticals?
I haven't. Like I said, I'm really simple on the antenna side. I still haven't gone down the path of even like building like an end-fed half-wave myself. So this guy has just been simple dipoles to date.
I'm curious how much directionality you would get out of an end-fed half-wave. I'm assuming you will get some, but I would even I don't know about that. That's
It depends on how your end-fed half-wave is deployed, like how it's configured.
Well, of course. I mean, yes, I'm talking about physical deployment, but I don't know, because I feel like you do need the other half of the antenna, like a dipole, to kind of do that. If you wanted to pie slice it out a little bit, that seems more plausible to me. But I'm sure it works to some degree if you're doing an end-fed. All right. So we covered this on the live stream, but I think we can probably just tap on it really quickly. Question: would you recommend replacing the FT60 with the VX6R, and why?
I'm on the fence about this one. I still have both.
I know you mentioned like you sweated heavily into the FT60 because you're running all the time. And what if someone wasn't running all the time? What would you?
Then I would stick with the FT60.
Oh, really? Okay.
It has a better receiver. It's
does.
simple. It's simpler to use from the front panel. And you get full 5 watts if you decide to use the battery tray. You get the full power output.
Yeah.
The VX60 or VX6R is appealing for other scenarios where you want to receive AM broadcasts, FM broadcasts. Different tool, different job. So I will tell you, when I work public service events and we're primarily running like 2 meter simplex, I actually don't bring the VX6. I bring the FT60. And the reason is that I'm typically hiking. I'm not sweating as much. And the other people in our group are also using FT60. So if I have extra batteries to hand out, it's just a little bit easier. I'm the odd man out with my VX6. So the VX6 is when I'm really working out and really moving and really concerned about moisture and salt damaging the radio.
There you go.
So FT60 is fantastic.
I got the VX6 specifically because it does 220. Which the FT60 doesn't do, and I had a 60, but I'm actually handing it off to a friend of mine. So I'm not one who wants to end up with a dozen HTs, but I like the VX6. The sound is much better in the FT60.
Yeah,
and it does generally more robust, and that battery tray and everything is pretty good. It's a tough decision, and if I didn't have a friend who really could use it, then I'd probably keep them both.
I would say that if you're not going to throw your radio in the water and you don't really care that much about 220, and I really mean that and hear me out here. Like if you're not on 220, but you like the concept of having it, then it doesn't really matter that much. Like the FT60 is a very good radio. It is tested, again, another radio that is tested time here. It's been around for a long time. It does airband. It's a very good dual band radio. For most people, the FT60 is still one of the best radios that you can just pick up and have, and it's way cheaper than when I bought it the first time. I would just go. I would go that route.
Yeah, I'd agree. My area has a 220 repeater, and a lot of people who are on it. So there is that. But
sure,
if it wasn't for the 220, yeah, I would have stayed with the FT60 and not even got the VX6. So I'd agree.
So let me also throw something else here. The other use case I have for the VX6, since I have 3 of them, is that in our area we don't have any 220 activity, and just operational security, not real security, the Baofeng Army typically does not have 220. So if my wife and I need to communicate, we can dial that radio down to 300 milliwatts.
That's a really good point.
And be on 220. That's the other reason. I haven't really talked about it, but it's poor man's security by obscurity.
It's poor man's obfuscation. That's right, because the Baofengs can't do 220, and if you need to be away from everybody, 220 all of a sudden looks really good. Wow, that's a crazy funny point. Let's see. So there's a question on the YouTube side. Love the idea of asynchronous JS8 call for MCom. How would I get this working? You can go look at all my videos on JS8 call, but I assume Tech Prepper also has a few too. So what would you say on getting started on asynchronous JS8 call?
So I have to tell you, JS8 call I have almost no experience with.
Okay.
I've had it configured. It's one of those things that I want to do in the future. I see the value in the weak signal mode, just because I know that most of the targeted contacts would be a whole lot easier using JS8 as the mode.
You know what? That's right, because when you did the contact with Jason, you didn't do JS8 call. Well, there you go. If you want another person to do a video with, I'll do JS8 with you if you're ready for that. I'd be down.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll just add some thoughts there. So JS8 adds what I feel is packet radio type capability. So JS8 uses this concept of heartbeats. So you play your heartbeat, and then everybody that comes back to you populates the list, right? And that list are stations you heard. And then you can right click on any of those stations, and you can ask them, like, who do you hear, or are you hearing a specific station? And that's the best part about JS8 call, is that you can bent pipe contacts. And I've done this with Don, who's been on the chat, who's on the chat right now. We routed our comms through another station because actually I think we could hear each other directly. It didn't matter though for the
No, actually that particular day we couldn't. That's the reason we did it. Yeah.
Right. And so we bent pipe through another station, basically saying, "Hey station, route my message to Don." And that was just a text message that went to his inbox, and it was an asymmetric communication. And so he could then pull that message up and then reply to it, and it replied back in the same order. And we did it both ways on the live stream, and JS8 is great for that. I would love the concept that OH8STN came out with, where it's like I could type up a blog and you could download my blog off of the radio. Like, that's freaking cool. That's super cool. Not just from like the cool factor of like, hey, go read this stuff that I wrote, but also like this would actually be useful if you're like in an emergency situation where you needed to relay traffic, but you didn't know who was listening at the time you were transmitting, so you just typed it all up and you posted that as a bulletin, and then people could download it. Like, that's awesome. That's what we want.
Yeah, and it can also do APRS, or you can send APRS message or packets through it. I don't know about whether how much capability it really has. And one thing I was thinking about that deal is I wish he could add SMGTE gateway to it, or the SMS gateway to it.
That is fantastic. That is one of my favorite features that I use on a weekly basis to communicate with non-hams. Like, that is a powerful feature, and it's worth noting that that's not free.
Yeah, it's they take volunteer donations.
Yeah, so I highly recommend.
Somebody's trying to get in there with a comment or question. Go ahead. Was somebody talking on?
Yeah, it was me. Sorry, Josh. Hey, on the JS8 call, are you going to do the winter field day challenge that KM4 HCK is talking about?
I might.
And does JS8 Call do? Was that like a store and forward type thing, like a relay that you guys did?
Yeah, basically. Well, okay. So, what's the best way to consider this? So, if you're familiar with digipeaters, right? So I transmit my packet into a digipeater, and then the digipeater takes that, amplifies it, and retransmits it. Well, consider that over HF. So I find all I need to do is find a station that can hear Dawn. And then once they say, oh, yeah, I heard Dawn. I heard him like a couple of minutes ago. And then I say, okay, can you relay my message to Dawn via your station? And I transmit it into them. They copy it and then retransmit it to Dawn. Dawn gets it and then does the same thing back. That's how that whole system works, but it's over HF, that's where you get these way longer distances. And we've done it over a larger field, but Don is Don's here now, so he can attest to the fact that this works like very well. It does.
Yeah, and as far as store and forward goes, it does have a store and forward capability, but it doesn't. I don't see it how it's that useful because the station that's doing it, and there are a lot more that do it now, but that station has to be up 24/7. So if Josh put something on there yesterday and then I want to go get it, then that station would still have to be up today when I went out to retrieve the message. So it does have that capability. I don't think we ever played around with that capability. So what Josh is talking about, he's sending a message to me that's coming to me as I'm sitting there waiting for it, and it comes up on my screen, and then I turn around and reply to it, and it goes back to that guy and then back to Josh. So it's more of a real-time thing rather than the store and forward.
And this is the nuance that is in the Julian video that he made. So what you could do hypothetically is you could just make a bulletin. Like, let's say I made a daily bulletin that just said like, oh, I've been doing blah, blah, blah. But in an emergency situation, you could be like, well, traffic is out here, here, and here. And then anybody that could hear my heartbeat could pull me for questions that said, hey, do you have any messages for me? And I could reply back with my bulletin that was just the daily update, right? That's the point of this. That's why it's so valuable. It doesn't exist yet, but JS8 Call could easily implement this, where then I could reply back and say, oh, no, yeah, this is the message that I have for everybody that's pulling me. And then anyone that is NVIS could hypothetically have a station that could hear me, that maybe they're too close. They could be too close and they can't hear me. So they could bent pipe it back to me and get local information, local communication for, what I've experienced.
Yeah, the guy, and sorry to just keep this going, but the guy that does JS8 Call, have you heard from him in any length of time? I wonder where his new features are.
I think it's a little bit quiet out there.
Yeah.
Gaston, have you heard from him at all, or do you talk to him at all?
No, I actually don't communicate with really any of the developers, just from time constraints. And honestly, I mean, I have no idea how the guys who are actually putting out regular open source software have the time to do what they're doing. It is really commendable.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Especially if they're actively engaged on like a Google I/O group or whatever forums. I just don't know what kind of time management ninja skills those guys have. But kudos to them.
Yeah. I hear you.
Comment on asynchronous.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
So one of the perspectives that I have with asynchronous communication in JS8 is similar to WinLink. The ability to check in and check for messages in an emergency seems like a very good idea. Say if I were to set up camp in an emergency and just leave radio on to receive messages, then I could go about taking care of other tasks in that emergency while the radio is collecting messages that then could get back to once other tasks are completed. So in that way, it could run semi-autonomously that way. And yeah, I think I've said, yeah.
Yeah, and so I apologize. I said, yeah, go ahead, man. I didn't mean it that way, but you know what I mean. So I apologize. But so JS8 Call, here's the thing. And yes, if you set it up and you're listening and you have a station that is connected and capable of receiving, it works great. the problem is just what you said. And this comes down to comm planning. It really does. There was a question we got earlier about wilderness protocol. We should probably come back to that for a second. But you should have a comms plan with people, right? Because a battery is a finite resource, and it is going to go out on you even on receive eventually. So you should be able to tell people, if I'm out and about and you want to communicate with me, I'm going to be on a strict like power plan as well as a comms plan, where I'm judiciously restricting access to my battery so that I can have a long-term stay kind of thing. And so every 3 hours, just like we do on the wilderness protocol or whatever, I will turn the radio on for 10 minutes and, or 20, 30, whatever, and then have the appropriate time to receive your messages. So all that stuff is fantastic, but you have to build in the infrastructure that will work around, what you're doing, right? I think, I don't know, you want anything, Gaston?
Yeah, so I've actually tried the wilderness protocol. The issue I have with it is that they try to carve out a separate frequency that nobody really uses. You're better off doing it on simplex.
Oh yeah, I only tell people to use simplex. I don't tell people to use any kind of crazy frequency other than simplex.
I think there was an adventure frequency that was proposed.
No. Screw that.
So yeah, that's helpful. I will tell you though, I was on a summit activation with Charlie, Red Summit RF, and we had brought in a viewer, and we had to actually break up and split up by choice safely, and we wanted to be conscious. We were all three running our FT60s, and one of the guys had to go back by himself, and rather than keeping comms on the entire time, because we had about 8 hours that we were still planning on being there, we checked in at the top of the hour. But we agreed which frequency. He was a newer ham. We actually locked his radio, so he wasn't actually able really to do anything other than turn it back on and sit on that frequency. And it saved the day, just 5 minutes of doing a huddle out in the wilderness. So completely agree with that approach on conserving resources with a plan.
For the JS8 though, same kind of a situation applies. Like if you've got solar and power for days, yeah, run that thing all the time. But if not, just have a comms plan. Every 3 hours that you check in, you're available for comms, and then turn that thing off. That's okay. But you got to bake that into the people that are working with you, right? Otherwise, it's not going to be beneficial.
I mean, that's very good points on that, and definitely applies more to a more power-restricted situation. Leaving the radio on JS8 for other people to pull messages or push messages to you definitely would eat up a perhaps limited resource. So, very good point.
Well, and then for everybody that is not power limited, leave your radio connected to JS8 Call to your computer, and then you could be the bent pipe solution for people to make contact. Right. The only way you flesh out the network is if there's people actually using it. So make sure you leave your radio on and communicating in that sense, because you could be the radio that helps people out in that situation. So there you go too.
I have a question.
Well, for all the people that have power supplies, unlike the tech prepper.
Never needed it.
I'm kidding. But no, seriously, if you have a power supply and you have your radio on, like I always do, leave it on JS8 Call, and just like I do with SSTV, so I can see all the spicy images that people send. All right, you got a comment. There's another comment in there. Go ahead.
Well, with the increased symbol rate or whatever that's supposed to be coming along, is that going to change any of these modes to allow?
Yeah. Okay, so here's.
I hope so.
Here's my comment on that. So all those bills came out at the end of the year, and it's the end of the House session. So it's very truly like they're dead on the vine, meaning they're not going to move forward. Now we've been told that the same representatives that proposed those bills in the last session are going to repropose them in this session, and then people will vote on them. Now about the FCC one particularly. The FCC could implement this at any time right now. They don't need a bill, and in fact, it is a black eye on the FCC if they don't take this and run with it and make it happen without it becoming a bill, because all the bill is an instruction to tell the FCC to do something that was already in their power to do so, which is incredibly frustrating, which means that we spend a whole lot of government, like taxpayer dollars, to do something that they already know is a waste of time that they should have done a long time ago. That symbol rate limit needs to go away, and it needs to become a bandwidth limit, and the FCC has the power to do it, and they need to do it right now. That's the point.
Should have gone away 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah. They should have done this for a long time. Every time I bring this up, it's like, why are we still doing this? We need to move on from this.
But why don't we treat it like a Baofeng and just do it anyway?
Oh,
because then
we're good ham radio operators.
Yeah,
because we're nice people that don't break laws.
Yeah, but I to me it's just it's one of those things, and I could see the FCC going, "Oh my God, why do we have to do this? Just do it all. Just go ahead."
Well,
and
then give me
because we're ignoring it.
Well, then make
but
a bill.
I get it. I get it.
Then make a bill that's ollie oxen free and let us sort out our own crap. Like, give me that. Like, give me something. Give me something that removes some of this stuff from me. If you want to say, if the FCC would like to, so here it's the double-edged sword mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they give us the free Wild West, which is what we want, right? We want the ability to adjudicate our own modes and operating standards and all that stuff on our own. If they give us that, then why do we need them? Then why do we need them?
I want to be able to levy my own fines.
Right.
Yeah. 50 cents.
Oh no! Way more than that. The guys on 7200. No.
Oh! You're wanting to levy fines on other people.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah. I can think of a lot of people I want to levy fines on. But you're right. We had this issue. We've had this issue for decades, and really, they should have. It never should have been based upon a particular baud rate or a particular symbol rate. It should have always been on bandwidth.
Right.
And and we had this problem even back in in the 90s. We were still I was shocked when I was still getting into packet radio, and I'm like, well, why can I only do 1200 baud here? Why can I only do 300 baud? I haven't done that in like 10 years, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I always, and being in telecom, I always thought it was a frequency deal, but it's not. That's not where it is. We could do faster.
Yeah.
And well within give us the 3 kilohertz or 2.8 or whatever you want to give us, that's fine. And then as long as we're within that scope of reasonableness.
Mm-hmm.
That because all it's doing now is stifling innovation.
Yeah, 10-meter FM packet radio.
Could oh my God, could you imagine a 3 kilohertz wide digital signal that we could do? Like, and how fast we'd be done with communication? Like, we'd be done. Like, boom, boom, done. Like, it'd be so fast.
Well, I'm afraid the guys in my industry would go against that kind of thing, but we'll see.
But
because
it's amateur. You gotta have a license.
Why would they go against it though?
Because you could get to the point where we're doing it as well as they are.
Well, we're supposed to be ahead of them.
Not at that wide.
No, they don't like that.
But that's the whole purpose of our hobby.
Yeah, to a degree. And see, back in the day when we could facilitate free phone calls, they got more and more and more regulated about how that was working, because now you don't pay by the minute, because an amateur radio operator can just make that long distance call for you and connect one phone to another for, because you're in the same city.
I'm sorry. I had MCI. I could hear a pin drop, Don.
I worked with MCI.
How old? Tell me how old you are without telling me how old you are.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I know how to dial a phone just by pushing or clicking the things on the receiver.
Hey, Josh.
Of course, even knowing a receiver nowadays is old.
Yeah.
Add a baby, it's a boy.
Baby, it's a boy. That's that's right. We got a collect call from Baby.
I haven't heard that one in a long time.
Oh, well done.
The
Well
sad
done, sir.
thing is,
well done.
I used to do that when I was 17 in college. I would call my mom, collect from the payphone that was in the apartment complex. I would go to the payphone and call my mom. Said, hey mom, it's Jeff, call me back. And then wait 5 minutes, and she would call me right back at the payphone, and it was free because So you got to call from.
Scamming the system, the original phone phreaker.
And was did it cost you a dime or a quarter?
I think it was a quarter. I mean, I'm a little younger than you. Sorry.
Oh no, it doesn't cost you anything the way I used to do it. Because they went to the automated system for collect calls. Name now, and you go, call me back.
I used to have an Oscar Mayer Wiener whistle. I got all the free calls I wanted.
It was a Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch. No, you could do it with an Oscar Mayer
2600 hertz tone. That's where 2600 magazine that is still being published today. That's where they got their name.
Is it really? 2600 is still published?
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, it is.
I think they're coming out every 2 months now.
Oh, I might have to go get a subscription. That's
insane. No, go to Barnes & Noble, pick one up.
Oh my god.
There was a software programs back in the day too, like on your Commodore 64 and your TI-99 that would actually generate the tones.
Yeah.
You could record the tones that you needed onto a cassette tape and then play them back into the receiver and be able to make calls.
Back in the Apple II days, I ran an ASCII Express board, and on the ASCII Express board was this magazine called Tap Magazine, and Tap Magazine would teach you how to talk to a route and rate operator like you worked for the phone company. So then all you needed was a blue box or a black box to drop it down into the trunk, select the trunk line, and ask the route and rate operator to make the connections for the rest of the call.
We dipped into a huge nerd pocket that most people don't know what we are saying.
No, well, I started out as a phone phreaker. Actually,
did you really?
I built a black box.
Oh yes, yes.
Gamed the system, and all of our friends had one. So as far as the phone company was concerned, the phone was just ringing for half an hour while we were talking, and never initiated the billing cycle. It was great.
Dude,
did you know how to talk to the route and rate operators and all those back operators that like you were a lineman?
No, like I said, the black box was the only real circuit that we ever did, but didn't go beyond that.
That is awesome.
Back in the day, I wrote a war dialer in Pascal, in Turbo Pascal.
So those were fantastic. So I discovered the war dialing in the early 90s or mid 90s when I was just getting into high school, and star 69 just came around. So I was in my room and I would dial an entire exchange, one number after another. Next day, my poor mother would get all the phone calls from people star 69 them at who woke them up at 2:00 in the morning. And I actually found a few numbers. I got into.
I was going to say, like, how many actually numbers did you find in the star 69 era? Because there wasn't many that you could actually pull up.
So I found one modem that got me into the U.S. Forestry Service and got into like a little intranet.
That's why the NSA was calling you.
I felt there were like these eyeballs looking at me, and I'm pretty sure nobody cared. And it was some probably open system to begin with. But it was fun exploring all of that stuff in the early 90s.
Yeah, my little war dialer, I was, because we were all paranoid. Of course, this is long before any of the laws or anything had caught up to it. But mine actually took, and you put in all the exchanges, and it would randomize the numbers that it would dial, but it would never call the same number twice, and it would log if it actually got a carrier on the other end, and then then provide you a list out, and then you could go back through and try and connect. And I found like a handful of different numbers. I found back in the day, I think it was United Telecom of Florida or something like that, and a couple other ones back in the day. And it was kind of fun. You got to log in and it was trying to figure out how to get into there, but I never went too far with it.
Did anybody ever make one called the Lunchbox? It basically was just a very simple AM transmitter, and you would physically connect this to the telephone box outside and retransmit any audio. So basically, you're wiretapping your neighbor's house and transmitting the signal over RF. Anyways, just
no, but at the same time, sure. I love that. I love that.
I learned about the ring voltage when I was playing around. I managed to somehow acquire one of the test headset or test the test sets that had the little clips where you could clip on.
The handset clip.
But the kind that the phone guy
a lineman handset.
Lineman, yeah. So you could it had a black and a red, and you could of course you could click it on the black and the red, and
those were actually really hard to get at some point. I remember the rotary ones. That was the lineman handset.
Dude, I think this one was the rotary one. It did not have DTMF on it. So
yep.
And I know one time I was clipping it on, right, and the phone was ringing, and I felt that 70. Was it like 74 volts? I think it is. Is the ring
6 volts?
It was like 48.
That's funny.
Well,
I don't know.
They didn't. No, they did 48 at the back end in the central office. But when they send the rings out over those little pairs of bell wires, that was only 6 volts during a ring cycle.
I thought it was more than that. Though. I thought it was like 72 volts or something.
78 would blow up a goddamn phone. Are you kidding?
Yeah,
78 volts is a lot.
Well, it had to be enough to actually trip the mechanical bell ringer.
Yeah, no, that was just a magnet. It was just a magnet. So all they had to do was energize the magnet for a minute, and then the little clapper would go and ring the phone.
That's half my car charger. 75 volts. Oh man.
Yeah.
But those are 48 volts, POTS lines, 48 volts DC.
No, in the central office. What, Mike? It was not the same in Europe, so don't.
It is the same in.
No, it's not.
Here we go.
I worked there. I have worked there for the last 30 years, Mike. It is not the same. Y'all do things different.
Wait, okay, so it says POTS line with all phones on hook should measure around 48 volts DC, but I think it actually was AC when it was a ring signal.
Okay.
No, I built the equipment. It was not. We put 6 volts out on those little bitty tiny bell wires would only handle about 6 volts, and it had to be. They may have started at 48 volts at the beginning, but by the time it reached the phone, it was supposed to only be 6 volts.
Well, I know I got nipped, and you don't get nipped off a DC.
Well,
yeah, you do.
It
okay.
was
All right. We're getting in the weeds.
Unlatched, it's 48 volts. When you latch the phone, it drops to 6. The ringing signal is 75 volts peak to peak on all networks.
Yeah, this one says 90 volts RMS, 20 hertz AC.
75 volts RMS. Sorry, I beg your pardon, but it's plus or minus a bit. It depends. Each network has their own way, but that's how it works. I know because I worked in a laboratory that set them up as you did.
Well, you can ride AC on top of DC. So
yeah, that's the whole point. The AC signal rides on one of the pair on one of the wire pairs.
I must disarm this conversation just for a moment to say, to say that the UK there are many words that they say that I want to adopt into my vocabulary, and it is laboratory. What a way better way of saying laboratory. Laboratory sounds so dumb. Laboratory, though? Oh my God. I think we can all agree that is the better way to say that.
Oh, yes.
Yes, 100%.
100%. You want me to add some echo?
Could you add the echo mic to the Discord?
Laboratory.
There you go. There you go.
There you go. There you go.
That's where you have your Dr. Frankenstein's blade switch that you drop slowly as you complete the circuit.
You got the valve with the big arc going up inside.
Right, the Jacob's ladder. Yeah, for sure. All right, so everybody, let's get back on topic. So, is there anybody out there with a question for the tech prepper, Gaston? So he's still here. Well, we found out he's a phone freaker, so he's oddly in on this conversation. But anybody else in there, we'd love to hear your comments on the Discord or questions. So go ahead. All right. Well, I've definitely asked my questions, and we've got a lot of questions. Oh, so many people talking. We've got a lot of questions on the YouTube as well. So, Gaston, you just absolutely killed it, man. So many good questions for you, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule of software developing and doing all the things you're doing for the people that are following you. It's just amazing. So, thanks again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Long overdue. So glad you reached out, and take that sick day if you can. I'll bring a couple of extra goodies.
I want to really bad, but I literally think the first half of my week next week is all just going to staffing events and trying to hire people. By the way, everybody is hiring like crazy right now. For tech people, engineers. Oh, there's so many jobs out there right now. It's crazy.
And then you heard what happened at Google and Microsoft. Right?
I did.
And Meta and a bunch of other.
The internal emails I've received, like, can we capitalize on this? Can we hire more engineers? Like, hell yeah, we can.
Yeah, but if you have the fancy wheatgrass bar and the free steak and all that lazy stuff that they do, and they work like 30 minutes a week.
Yeah. So no, well, what I'll tell you is the opposite. What we'll tell you in the argument of why you should consider our company is you can have a life. You can work, and then you can also have a life. Work-life balance became really important recently because everybody realized, hey, I can do a lot of this stuff from home. So why can't I do more of that?
Yeah, that's that. I don't go into work anymore. There's no reason to, and I only have to drive 5 minutes. But like, why?
I have to do my stupid self-review. I don't know what moron came up with this idea of an employee review themselves. This is that's retarded.
Yeah, me too.
Making notes here. Making notes. I will make all my people self-review themselves.
No,
this is amazing. This is amazing.
Don't
this
do
is
it.
amazing,
It's
Jeff.
stupid.
This is amazing. Why didn't no one tell me this before?
Dude,
I'm
it's
like-
awful. Not only did my boss make me review myself, he didn't. Here's the thing. I had to have mine done by January 7th.
Right.
I got it done the 6th. He didn't populate any of the parameters or KPIs from the previous year.
Yes.
It was still showing 2021.
Good.
And he has
Good
not
manager.
done his own review with me, which he was supposed to do after I submitted mine.
Yeah. The thing is, my boss is a friend of mine. I've known him for like ever. And he has never, in the 13 years I have worked at this company, he has never reviewed me. We've never sat down in an office and had a review. It's always written up, and he submits it, and then eventually HR will submit it back to me, and and here's your raise.
Does
and
he
this
even
is what
touch
it's
you on the
based
phone?
Oh yeah, we talk all the time. It's just that we're friends. We don't talk about review stuff or anything.
Okay.
And we do talk about work and what we're doing because we have to. I mean,
Right.
But yeah, we don't go, oh, okay, well, look, you really need to do a better job at so and so and whatever. That just doesn't come up, and we don't do any of that stuff. But see, the thing is, he's under the gun to not review me, and it's because there's 3 people in our group, and we've all been working together for years, and we all are like top level engineers, but we can only get what's that? I can't remember the term for it, but it's basically a mid-level attaboy, right?
You can't have like all 5s, right?
You can't.
You're not allowed to have all 5.
No, you can't even put a 5 on there.
Yeah, you're allowed like 1 5, and everything else has to be.
Yeah, no, we're not even
below.
allowed. We're not even allowed a 5.
See, it's so ingenuous,
Right.
disingenuous that it's not even funny. It's like you're making us review ourselves, and then our bosses can't even give us high marks because heaven forbid if we got high marks, we'd have to get a raise. Oh, I didn't get a raise in the past 2 years. Why? Oh, because COVID.
Yeah, you're working at the whatever that mid level is, and I can't remember. It's basically saying, well, you did the job, but
you met expectations.
That's it.
And then I see all these people complaining because they made $200,000 a year, and they're whining about and I'm like, dude, you make more than twice what I make, and I've been doing IT for 30 years. What the hell?
Yeah, see, that's the difference between a software engineer and a IT guy. That's the reason I'm in IT, or that I'm not in IT, because
it literally took me 30 years to get to where I'm at. I still get people trying to email me with these job offers for crazy low amounts, and I'm like, no.
All right, enough ranting for a second.
I
have Oh, you have a question? Go ahead.
No, I was going to make a comment. Isn't your the fact that you're working the next 2 weeks or the next month, isn't that you're doing okay?
Yeah.
Because my boss gives me feedback when I need it, and you do what you need to do, and you keep your job. And the incentive in hiring is to earn a paycheck.
It's a cathartic release. Let everybody have their rant session. It's
I'd like
I'm
to
just
know.
saying.
Like
I know,
where I'm at right now, I'd like to know, what do I need to do to get that next bump? And by bump, I mean the next promotion. I'm not worried about my next raise. I'd like to move up. And by the way, I'm not interested in moving into management. I'd prefer to stay in tech, on the tech side. But they never that's never discussed. And yes, I do get upset with HR and with management because they never talk to us about, how you get that promotion, or what's my promotion path. Nothing. They never talk about that anymore.
All right. Okay.
Damn question.
Yeah, we got a couple of questions that came in. So does the tech prepper have a Discord presence?
No.
Not yet.
No. Just no time for the engagement, unfortunately. I'd love to.
Well, and so let's put this into perspective. If you do want to communicate with him more directly, he has Buy Me a Coffee, which is basically like Patreon. So you can go direct to him if you'd like to do that. So there are links.
That's a good point.
There are links in the description here so that you can follow him that way.
Yeah, and Josh, that's how I prioritize my day now. Just with the volume of stuff, is those guys get first priority when I wake up at 4:00 in the morning.
Sure.
And then
you wake up at 4:00 in the morning. What kind of animal are you?
Well, I'm like almost like an hour and a half past my normal bedtime.
I was gonna say you're dying right now. This guy needs to go to bed.
Yeah, no, it's been fun, but I like getting up early. It's quiet, and that's usually takes 24 hours for me to get back to you, unless you catch me in that window from about 4 to 5, where I kind of focus on the supporters.
This is a side question for me. Do you have children?
No, I don't.
Okay, I was gonna say waking up early in the morning to get away from children is like my tactic some days.
Oh, okay.
Because it's quiet. It's super quiet. That's why I had
That's
to
a good
ask.
plan.
That's why
well,
I
I
had
love
to ask.
getting up in the morning. There's nobody up. I mean, the first thing I do is make that coffee and just dip in the pool with the cold, deliberate exposure therapy for like 3 minutes.
That's not me, but I respect you.
Well, it's funny. The neighbors were out. I wasn't expecting anybody out, so I get completely buck naked when I do that.
Oh, hell yeah. All right.
And there's no light pollution here, so it was dark. And some dude was running with the headlight, and I was just like, hey, other crazy man. Hey, how you doing at like 4:00 in the morning?
Oh, that was like game acknowledges game. You probably shamed him. He was like, I'm getting up early. I'm beating the family awake. I'm going to go walk the dog in the morning with my head down.
Oh.
And he's like, and then I saw some guy butt-ass naked getting into the pool.
The pool was like, and this morning was cold. It was like 34 degrees. But no, he was actually properly running with a red headlamp, red light. I'm like, who is this guy? I got to figure out who this dude is.
He probably just got out of his pool and then did the run, right?
I don't know what he did, but
man, that's.
But yeah, early bird.
I love it. Let's see. Somebody asked, does Tech Prepper have a lighter pack for his backpacking loadout?
So I don't, but I'm looking at stuff right now. So I will tell you that Eberly stock Fact Track is like 6 pounds by itself.
Oh, that's
But
heavy.
it's indestructible. And I took that to Whitney, and it tore me up. I was easily 7 pounds higher than the next guy behind me. There's a company.
Have you looked at Dyneema? Cuban fiber, Dyneema? Have you looked into that?
I haven't. I don't know how the loads are going to be, but I have got.
So Dyneema is just super, super lightweight material that you can. I mean, it's water resistant, waterproof in lots of applications. Super lightweight. They make internal pack frames for a heavier loadout. They go all the way up to 40, 60 liter backpacks. Hyperlight Mountain Gear makes a couple of them. Z-Packs makes other backpacks that are super, super lightweight, and they're super resistant. So they're
The problem is just the materials. I just don't know if it's going to like work out here because I bushwhack quite a bit, and I'm constantly snagging on just about the Palo Verdes, the Ocotillo, the Saguaros out here, the Choya. I put a link. I don't even know how to pronounce this, but Carl from Chameleon Antenna was like, you want to cut a few pounds and also go bigger capacity. And he sent me this one called Kifaru, Kifaru. I put it in one of the...
Liberty Cave just said Kifaru. Yeah, Kifaru.
And this is what I'm looking at. Yeah, so that's exactly the pack that I've been mulling over, getting
I'm gonna look this up.
relatively slowly. And they'll go bigger. So I'm like, how large is large? So I probably 75 liters will be the highest, but this is the direction I'm going for. Kind of anything more than 2 days, we'll probably go to something like this, and it's quite a bit lighter.
I'm a big Cuban fiber advocate. I would, as much as I like nylon, it is very heavy.
Yeah.
And like ultralight hikers and all that, they were already well in the Cuban fiber realm. Like if you ask K6ARK and other people, like there are so many super lightweight packs. Your tent, for instance, the one, you're already kind of halfway down the realm of like ultralight gear.
And the cook set too is also, I'm transitioning over to some like new titanium stuff, and so cutting out a ton of weight. The radio is the one that's killing me right now, to be honest with you.
Well, the radio is the heavy part. That's just a factor of, that's just what it is. Oh man, that still looks pretty heavy. Kifaru cargo only pack. Oh.
It's quite a bit lighter than what I have, and gives me like another, 20, 30 liters.
Yeah. It looks cool though.
Yeah, maybe this is where the LARPing thing comes in, but I don't mind the heavy loads because I run with this stuff all the time. And
well, no, but you can still do all the heavy loads with the Cuban fiber. It's lighter weight, and I don't know that it's less snag. It's got to be more snag prone than nylon, that's for sure. Yeah. But the Cuban fiber is really good. Like I was mentioning, the tent you have. Yeah. I have the same tent it's a 2-person. I have the 2, but it's Cuban fiber and it's still lighter weight than the one you have. That's the 1.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The Cuban fiber stuff is stupid light.
Yeah, but the price point also goes up with it pretty quickly,
expensive.
Right?
Yeah, they're insanely expensive. Yeah, no, I'm not. I don't disagree on that point. They're
they're dumb. I was looking at the Z-Packs, and I'm like, I can't justify the cost of the Z-Packs compared to what I paid for the 1 or even the 2.
Yeah.
It's all budget and requirements, and just what works for me doesn't work for probably half the people or 90% of the people out there. But Kifaru is where I'm going. That's the next thing that you may see in the next year.
Nice.
On the channel.
Well, a couple of things.
Question.
Go ahead. Question.
Would he consider the IC706 as part of his loadout?
Well, yeah.
706. You mean the 705?
No, 706 to Mark II-G. 706.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Okay. I like that radio because it's all band, all mode. It has the same kind of older characteristics I like. The problem with that one is the current consumption is very high. So I think it's over an amp on receive.
Yeah,
it's like 2, I think.
It's getting into like 100-watt radio territory.
Yeah, my 857 basically will do the same thing, and on receive it's closer to like 650 milliamps on receive.
Yeah.
But I would have bought that radio. I probably still would if I can find one in good condition, because I just like that era of radios and the capabilities it has. It would probably be more of a shack rig for me. But
you got like classic car guy, like all over when you talk about radios. It's like I remember the heyday. I want a 5-liter Mustang, and I want all that stuff.
And what's funny is I came late to the game. I did not get licensed till 17 and didn't know what I wanted till like 19. It works. I just don't like I'm very anti-tech for being a technologist, which is weird. I hate touchscreens. I hate voice-activated everything. I mean, I went into freaking Discord today, and there was a reason why I closed it 8 months ago when I created the account for it. I'm like, ooh, too much text going on here.
Sex?
So I'm trying to text.
Oh, text.
So
I'm like, too much sex in our Discord? You got to tell an admin if that's going on.
But I like the simpler things. So like the technology I'm writing is probably more reminiscent of the guys that grew up doing Packet and BBSs.
Yeah,
and
I can see that.
Hey, that's my era.
And it's great. It works, man. I got to tell you, like the guys that are still doing BBS have got pretty much 24/7 infrastructure out here, and they use the heck out of those mailboxes, and it's actually a lot of fun.
You know that those guys made millions of dollars off those phone numbers? Do you know that?
Did they really?
Oh my gosh. That club that is now doing grants for other people.
Yeah.
It's because they bought a ton of phone numbers, and those phone numbers are now really, really valuable, and they're now selling them off, and they're making a mint of money. That ham club is so flush with cash, it is insane. And they're doing the right thing. They're giving it back to people. It's awesome. It is a like ham radio wonder story what they've been able to do. So
you're talking about the IP addresses, right? Not the phone.
Oh,
numbers.
IP addresses. Yeah, IP addresses.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, you're right, Don. Thank you for the correction. Anyway, okay, guys. So I also have to go. This is Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year, Gong Hei Fa Choi, and for Vietnamese people, well, it's Lunar New Year, but languages are different. So Chuk Bung Namoy. So thank you so much. I have to head out. It's earlier than I normally head out, but I also have to go. So
did you do your homework?
I did. I watched The Glass Onion with Leia, and we both heavily agree that what was it? Edward Norton's character. Edward Norton's character is very much a play on Elon Musk, I feel.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I had to ask. I waited. I didn't even bring it up.
Yeah,
until the
I
end.
did the homework. It took me a while to get there. We both watched it together, and yes. So, by the way, good movie. That was fun. There are many twists and turns in that, which is what I like about those Knives Out movies kind of thing. It was, I think it's both Leia and I cracked up in the fact that Daniel Craig, a British actor, is the one that does the Southern accent and pretends to be. That just cracks me up. Like it just cracks us both up. We thought that was hilarious, but he does a fantastic job. He's a good actor. But yeah, I was I saw at the end of the day it was just going to be that guy, and it was going to be super dumb. And sure it was, but they made the fact that it was like entertaining.
Yeah, and you saw what I talked about, how it was a little fantastical in some regards, with with the boxes.
So oddly enough, like if you watch the first Knives Out movie, it had a very like large like political involvement type of thing, like the wokeism or whatever, if you want to call it that. Like there was a lot of that going on, but I felt that they did this one like very. They covered so many bases with it that it was all just blended in. It was a good movie. I really liked it. It was fun.
Well, good. Good. I'm glad. Supposedly there's going to be a third one. So
Yeah. Now I will say my dad is still with me after he quote unquote broke his arm, but not really. He's still hanging out with us, living at the house, and he finished Jack Reacher on Amazon Prime. And he's like, "Is there a second season yet?" And I'm like, "No, there's not a second season yet." He's like, "That is the best incarnation of Reacher I've ever seen." He read most of the Reacher books, and he was like, "This actor is perfect." And I'm like, "Oh, is he better than Tom Cruise?" And he's like, "Tom Cruise is trash compared to this character. This actor is way better as the character of Reacher. He just absolutely killed it."
So
he had the right height too, right? I mean, to cast someone that's like
he's
5'7" is ridiculous.
Yes, he's built like a brick wall. Reacher, the character, is supposed to be huge. He's supposed to be just a massive man, and that, like, I think the episode where he gets in the prison fight in the showers.
Mm-hmm.
My dad watched that and he was like, "This is it. This is the perfect casting for this character." He just absolutely loved it. He's like, I got to finish this whole thing while I'm still here. And I'm like, "Okay, we'll watch it all."
So I got to watch this Reacher stuff. Huh?
Oh, it's so good.
Oh gosh,
it's
yes,
so
it's
good. Yeah.
All right, that's my homework.
Did you try the Witcher series though?
So I got through most of the first season of the Henry Cavill Witcher, and
I'm talking about that one, the one off series that Michelle Yeoh is in.
I have not. That is the next
that
on the
one.
list.
You do not have to watch the other one to watch this.
It's a prequel, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
but it's back in the way back.
Where's it on? Is it on HBO?
No, it's on Netflix too.
Oh, that's right. Witcher's on Netflix. Okay.
Yeah.
So that I'll make sure I go check out. But all right, the Tech Prepper's heading out. I'm sorry, guys. I normally go way later than this, but I literally have like a ton of my wife's family in the house, and I have to go. And I think half of them have already...
Happy New Year.
Everybody is touring. Everybody is. I've heard my truck go off multiple times. They're all touring the truck right now, and I'm in work on doing the whole antenna outfit on the Ford Lightning, and I will make a video on it. I promise. We're gonna walk through it, and I swear I have never. Don't worry, we'll talk about it on the video. But there is an antenna mount that I purchased that is the most I've ever spent on a mount for an antenna in my entire life, and it bothers me. But at the same time, it is so perfect for the situation that I like frustratingly click the buy button because I'm so mad about it, and we'll talk about it. So
okay.
If you need a hand with that install, Josh, let me know.
Shane, I might have to call you on this. I might have to call you on this to figure out the right way to route the coax through the bed into the body. So I'm gonna have to bug you about it. I would like your expertise in this, actually.
I just did 2 installs on 2 F-150s for the Fullerton Police Department.
All right. I'm gonna bug you then, man, because I need your help. So I think I will do that. I'm gonna get the Breedlove stake mount kit, and then I'll give you a call and figure out how to just run the line through this thing. So
Roger that.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Okay, guys, I gotta go. I apologize. And Tech Prepper, you were amazing. Everybody else that watched and did everything, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Sorry for bailing a little bit early, but Lunar New Year. So I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you all get rich. That is what the Lunar New Year is all about. So I hope you get rich. All right, everybody.
73, Josh.
Thank you so much.
73.
Take it easy.
73s, guys. Thank you.
All right, so we're wrapping it up on the Discord side. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. And again, I mean that. I hope you get rich. Tukbung Namoy and Gong Hei Fa Choi. And there's I don't remember the rest of it. This is what I used to have to do. Like every year, I used to have to remember how to say Happy New Year. I hope you get rich, or best prosperity, and all that stuff. And I do respect that, because I do hope you all get rich. But I'm gonna play the memes and play the song, and I'll talk to you later. And I hope you see you next week. Take it easy. 73. And I will say, if you're waiting this long, if you haven't turned off yet, my signal stick order came in, so we got a whole bunch of signal sticks we're going to give away. Although I think I might hang on to these and give them away in person to people that, I run into. I haven't decided yet, but I've got a bunch of the orange special jobs, injection molded signal sticks in the BNC form factor, which is what you want. So that's all I got to say about that. Digital Dreamer, I literally have a piece of go look at my Instagram stories, which is just like it's a bird that's saying I hope you get rich in English, and then there's also the Chinese characters. So yes, no, I hope you get rich. That's literally what Chinese New Year's about. I hope you get rich. Oh, Digital Dreamer. I don't know, man. We'll figure it out. All right, take it easy. I'll talk to you later.